there is a reason why the Try Guys Ned Fulmer cheating scandal got as big as it did. Ned Fulmer was found to have had an affair with the Try Guys producer Alexandria Herring, which broke the internet and also television, which is insane. It was the combination of their non-toxic reputation and the fact that Ned Fulmer was known as the wife guy. It's been a few months since the biggest internet drama of the last couple of years finally came to some sort of arrest, with the Try Guys making the decision to remove Ned from the company. Recently, Keith and Zach went on a podcast where they went into some more details about this whole situation and their perspective of what happened. In this interview, the guys were asked about the ways and terms in which they talk about Ned secretly cheating on his wife Ariel with their employee. And they said that it was like experiencing a very abrupt divorce.
You guys talk about it.
What's the term? Not to.
Yeah. What is like the term used?
Yeah, I mean,
it was a scandal, right?
Scandal?
Like, I think that is kind of, especially with how much publicity was around it.
Yeah.
I think scandal's kind of the right term. It was just a surprise.
Yeah.
A bad surprise.
we can call it the event of 2022.
Let's call it the event of Q4.
Yeah, it was like a divorce,
or Q3,
a sudden and abrupt divorce.
Keith and Zach also talked about how it felt going through something like that so publicly and where they are now in getting over everything that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're meeting us right now. We're still in a transition, right? It's something that fundamentally shook the core of it shook our core, the core of our company. It shook the core of what we do and how we do it.
They also talked about the notorious SNL skit, which we have talked about quite a few times on this channel. But right after this scandal broke and was so public that it could not be avoided anymore, the Try Guys made a video explaining to their audience what exactly happened and all of that, talking about their perspective. And then SNL picked up this whole thing and did their own skit, basically talking about how the Try Guys overreacted and how they were just jealous that Ned was having an affair and didn't tell them. But it was later discovered that some of Ned's close friends from college were actually writers for SNL. And then it all made sense. People realized that Ned's friends are basically backing him up on everything that's happened. It was just so bizarre because this was in such a huge contrast to what was happening on the internet. But Keith and Zach were talking about the shock of discovering that they were actually talked about on SNL.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I was like, I just don't think we're important enough to be the opening sketch.
Yeah.
It got so viral that, Seth Rogen's like, what's a Try Guy?
Yeah.
And people, it's getting into other people's spaces that are like, why is my timeline filled up with these people I don't know? And then other people like, how do you not know them? I think we were in a roundup at the end of the year from some people like biggest viral occurrences.
Right.
It's kind of a careful what you wish for, right? Our whole career was built on trying to go viral. And it's, well, here you go, buddy.
The interviewers also asked how they felt about SNL's take on this whole situation and the way that they tried to portray the situation as the Try Guys having this dramatic, over-the-top reaction to what was happening.
It was very frustrating when to watch it. Because at first, like when it came on, I was like, wow, what if this is funny? And it and they have a take that it works for us.
Well, you see the first screenshot and that's us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's my shirt.
Yeah.
They've done sketches about YouTube. They did like a Dobrik-inspired sketch.
Paul.
But they didn't say their names.
No, they didn't.
They didn't have people playing them.
Yeah.
So there was this first moment of like, holy shit, we grew up watching SNL.
And I can laugh at first at like, I was like, the food baby.
That was
funny.
They're covering our niche references.
But as it kept going, I was like, oh no. Oh, they don't get it. Oh no, this is not the mainstream dialogue I want most of older America to watch right before they go to bed about us. It's like that we're overreacting. They clearly just don't have the actual facts of what it is, and they're just trying to minimize what happened and oversell our reaction to it.
When the SNL skit first came out and people were just starting to piece together this whole thing, a lot of people were pointing out that Ned did not get made fun of. He was the one person that they did not find anything wrong with what he did. People were talking about how there were very obvious jokes that the SNL writers chose to not use for some reason.
It felt a bit like punching down at us as opposed to perhaps punching at someone else.
Yeah, there was one person who wasn't made fun of in that sketch.
Right.
Yeah. So that felt unfair.
Yeah.
Zach also talked about his relationship with his wife Maggie, and he talked about how he didn't want to monetize that relationship and put it on display and use it for views and for public engagement. And he had said that it was a decision that he made even before Ned actually left the group. So I think there was a lot of attention on Ned's relationship with his wife Ariel because he was just talking about it constantly. Ned talked about his wife Ariel and their kids in tons and tons of videos, even when they weren't even featured. It's possible that it was very clear to the other guys that Ned was using that to pull the audience in and to make himself more interesting, and that they felt kind of icky about that because Zach talked about specifically not wanting to do that.
I kept my relationship secret for 2 years, not because I wanted to make some big to-do about it, but because I knew that there would be a lot of attention put upon my relationship, as evidenced by the intense amount of attention put on the other relationship. So I was like, I don't want to turn my relationship into a funnel for likes. I don't want to get into that part of my brain where I go, oh, if I am on vacation, I better take some videos of me and my girlfriend so that we get some likes on Instagram. I wanted to grow it in my own heart. And then when I realized, okay, Maggie and I are going to be together forever, time to introduce her.
So obviously the Try Guys first became what they are on BuzzFeed, which is a massive media company. That's where they started, as well as a lot of other creators who are now very well known on the platform. And BuzzFeed went from being this huge empire, employing all of these talents who people really wanted to see, to losing a lot of their video producers who went on to just have their own independent YouTube channels. And as that happened, we got a lot of why I left BuzzFeed videos, because seemingly this was the ideal environment to work at. As more and more employees left and talked about their experiences working at BuzzFeed, the audience got a more realistic picture of what was really happening there. In this interview, the Try Guys also reflected on their time at BuzzFeed. They talked about how the BuzzFeed training that they got created the thought process for them that everything they do has to go viral. And they also talked about the very culty environment that BuzzFeed had, and how in trying to make their employees create viral videos that will make as much money for the company as possible, created this competition and rewarded the winners with pins and buttons and hoodies.
And that's kind of the phase that I find myself in now, is a little bit of acceptance and a little bit of trying to refocus my attentions away from that, that BuzzFeed brain that we had. We were trained in an environment of needing everything to always go as viral as humanly possible, to be as broad as possible, to reach as wide an audience as possible. And I just think that at a certain point, that's a little bit creatively corrosive.
We all got pins and buttons when we made good videos, and that was sort of a weird cultish currency. Yes, you got a pin. Like there was a pin that had some guy's face on it for a YouTube hit. There was a different kind of pin
based on benchmarks.
Yeah, that had for a Facebook hit, and then eventually they established this weird, it was very culty. It's like a hoodie you could get if you got.
One day they go, look at this beautiful hoodie, and everyone goes, oh, and they say, we've gotten one for all of you. If you'd like to win it, you must get a video that gets to 1 million in 1 week.
No, it was 3 million.
3 million?
3 million in a week.
When you got your hoodie, though, it was like your SNL jacket. It was like, welcome to the club, buddy.
That's
and
crazy.
we all drank the fucking Kool-Aid. I now can look back and be like, wow. But back then, it was like, I need that.
I think initially when people were leaving BuzzFeed, a lot of people did not want to say anything that would make the company look too bad because there are still people who work there. But all these years later, it's really interesting to see the Try Guys giving us all the tea on what really happened at BuzzFeed. The Try Guys were also asked about the wholesome image of the Try Guys brand and the hit that it took once the scandal broke and people realized that Ned's entire online personality was not exactly what they thought. The Try Guys said that they were afraid that people would feel so betrayed that they would just lose their audience.
I think what I was most afraid of was that the audience had like a breach of trust with us, and that they would feel wronged and they wouldn't want to watch anything anymore because their perception was that we all knew this was happening and we were okay with it and we were disingenuous, and which was not the case. So and I would understand like if people were mad about it. And what was crazy is that it was as big as it was, because I think we didn't realize that people cared so much about us as they clearly did. For some of these people, it must have been as if Bill Nye the Science Guy wasn't who he said he was. because they started watching at such a young age, and they'd used us as their stress relief in high school and college.
Yeah.
And now this thing that they thought was what it was, maybe it wasn't what they thought it was, and they feel like betrayed.
There's an undercurrent of an overcurrent of non-toxic masculinity that was at the core of our content for a long time, which I think is a big reason why the whole thing felt like such a deep betrayal.
I think because the Try Guys were a symbol of non-toxic masculinity, Ned's betrayal really had a potential of affecting the audience perspective of them, because for the longest time that is what they represented for people. And even if Ned's energy as a whole was very fratty, he did always talk about his wife and family. So even if to some people he felt ingenuine, mixed with the other guys' more authentic approaches and the overall wholesome feel of the content, it's easy to see why people felt so blindsided and why people were just so upset. The Try Guys also talked about the aftermath effect that this whole event had on them and the company. Last time I talked about this, I also talked about the different ways that this affected the different people who were actually involved in this scandal, from the Try Guys to Ned to Ariel and Alexandria and her boyfriend. It seems that the Try Guys fans are still very interested to know how each of the parties are picking up the pieces, and especially when it comes to Ned's wife Ariel, because she was such a huge part of the Try Guys, and she was also on the You Can Sit With Us podcast with all of the Try Guys wives. And there is a pretty big discussion actually on the Try Guys subreddit where people posted about this up to like very recently. One person said, 0 sightings of Ned and Ariel, ? It seems bizarre that since that weird paparazzi walk / interview they did ages ago, that we haven't had a single fan sighting of either of them. No one's seen them at the grocery store, at a movie. I assume if they did, they would post about it on Reddit. Seems so weird. And one person reacted to that and said there was a post on the main sub about how Ned had been tagged in a photo with 2 women, presumably fans, in Florida a month or 2 ago. So after this whole thing got out and Ned's put out his official statement, Ariel also did the same, and they were both saying that they were going to focus on their family. And a lot of people expressed their disappointment that Ariel was going to stay with Ned after everything that he did. Someone on Reddit said, I want to bet someone $100 that Ariel isn't staying. Ariel removed wife from her bio. She played along with us when she followed the rapper who likes hot mamas on Instagram, who is Young Gravy, I believe. And he tried to like start something with her when this whole thing was going on. Anyways, she came across as a very independent person on her social media pre-Nedgate. If your partner has cheated and humiliated you, and you were a pretty serious person to begin with, you'd leave, but make sure that all the details have been worked out. The kids who have the surname of the cheating POS, the shared asset, your new income source, and then you'll never look back. You wouldn't declare your divorce on social media until it is rock solid, especially when you know how much the cheater talked about your relationship on social media. Also, Ariel's statement said that she wanted to focus on her family, and Ned said that he wanted to focus on family and marriage. The paparazzi video, my answer is that Ned asked her to do this as a favor. She said working on it, something very non-committal. Might I remind you that Ariel is very image conscious. Staying with Ned now does nothing for her image. Ned has blown whatever was going for him image-wise. Let's say you know your marriage is shitty, but you're pretending it isn't because you want to project the image of the perfect couple to the world. Now your spouse went on and pissed on that. What is your incentive now to stay with them? Nothing. Nada. I really hope I'm right. So I went on Ariel's Instagram and it actually doesn't seem like anything changed. She didn't upload any new photos, which is to be expected, and Ned Fulmer's wife is actually not here anymore. It would be really interesting to know if she is going to go back to You Can Sit With Us podcast and resume her role in the Try Guys, or if she's going to move back out of LA and do something else. I personally really hope that she does go back to You Can Sit With Us. There are a lot of people who really miss her. Ned, however, does have Ariel's husband, and so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that Ned has not touched his social media since this whole thing happened. As for Alexandria Herring, she does not have an online presence at the moment. Alex's former fiance Will actually has been pretty active on social media, and he seemed to have been traveling all over the world, so I guess that's good because they were dating for like 10 years and I can imagine that this was easy. But yeah guys, what did you think about this interview, and what are your thoughts about the Try Guys scandal in hindsight? I know it's been like 8 months since this whole thing happened, but I think it's really interesting to hear them talk about the inside details of this whole situation. Leave me a comment. I would love to know your opinion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.